Hey friends, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and I've got another knife review for you today. This is from the company Land, and Land is a sub-brand of San Remu or an affiliate brand somehow. There's no answers out there really for exactly what it is, but San Remu Land knives. And yeah, if I'm looking at the camera, I don't line up my fingers properly. It's a decent little knife, this 801 series knife. Comes 4 different ways, I think. Micarta G10 or G10 with a carbon fiber laminate on there. This green is the only color other than black that you can get. And yeah, I kind of like this thing. If you're interested in a knife like this, stick around. For those of you guys in Canada, this knife is not available within Canada as far as I can find anywhere. There's no stores in Canada that carry this. So if you still want to watch, hey, I would really appreciate it. Hey, as we start this, let me ask you a question. Please leave a comment down below. Small, medium, large, is that generally how you categorize the size of knives? And if you do, what's the medium size? You just tell me what's the medium size, and then stuff that's smaller is small and stuff that's larger is large, of course, and of course then extra large, whatever, for huge knives. But for pocket knives, this knife, is it a medium knife or is it a large knife? Well, it's pretty close. Like the blade length here, it is a little over 3 inches. What is it, not quite 3.2, you know, less than 3¼ inches for sure, but a little over 3 inches in length. So is that a medium or a large knife? It's, yeah, in this case, it's sort of in between there. I'm going to call it a large knife. I tend to call it large if it's over 3 inches, but between 3 3/4 inches, that's kind of a gray zone, isn't it? In my opinion, it is anyways. Yeah, I'm being a little gentle here because that's the finger that I stabbed last week. It's only 5-6 days ago. It's been healing up very well. It's just got a little bit in there. It's a little bit white in spots. It's a little, I think I got a little bit of nerve damage. There's a spot right in here that's just dead in terms of I can't feel anything, but the rest of the finger's irritated and annoyed. So, you know, when I'm going to flip this like that, I'm putting pressure right near where that injury was. But hey, it flips quite well, left-handed or right-handed. It's a very ambidextrous knife. Other than the lock release, that's one side only. The pocket clip goes on either side. I'll show you those details later. Yeah, this knife, like I said in the intro, not available to ship directly to Canada. You know, I'm lucky I've got family in the US and friends in the US, and so had this shipped actually to my sister's place. So yeah, this video's a little late. This knife's been out for over a year, but it's still available. And there is a store, AliExpress has got this thing as low as $16.01 right now. That's US dollars for this knife. For that, yeah, go buy it. Just go buy it. Free shipping into the United States. Another store on AliExpress has got it for less than 21 bucks, and the next one's less than $27. And if you want to buy it from a store that's in the United States, Arena Accessories has got it for $35 US dollars, $34.95 US dollars from Arena Accessories. I'll leave links down below for all of these. None of them are referral links. It's just links to help you out if you want to find these things. We've got micarta. You've got micarta in black or this green, this nice forest green. You can get it in black G10 if you can find it, and in black G10 with that carbon fiber slick laminate on top. So those are the main ways. Fingerprints on here. It's got a nice satin finish. It's a sway back. Yeah, it's basically a sway back style. In other words, a little bit upsweep on the spine and then a drop point blade, a bit of a swedge there. The main bevel doesn't come quite to the spine. It's a little bit thicker at the edge than I'd want, and I'll give you all those measurements later on. But the badging on this blade is quite nice, except for the D2. That's a little too big in my opinion right there, that big D2. The model number, 801 MP. MP's the color code. D2 is a little too big, like I said, but land right here, up here on the flat, that's a good size. I don't mind that at all. Got a nice size sharpener's choil here, and there's a gradual plunge, so that sharpener's choil just barely gets up to the spot where it needs to be, because the plunge ends right where the sharpener's choil ends. It cuts and slices okay. It wasn't terribly sharp from the factory. I just stropped it a little bit, like 30 seconds worth of stropping, and I brought that edge up a little bit, but the sharpening was pretty weird. Fairly decent angle for most of it, but the last inch here, it's a fairly, broad angle. Instead of a nice sharp angle, it's a fairly broad angle near the tip. So whoever they had sharpening this at the factory didn't do a terribly good job, but hopefully you, like me, can sharpen. Maybe you can't sharpen exactly as good as me. I have worked as a professional knife sharpener, so I can sharpen quite easily, but this isn't too hard to sharpen. Like the D2 steel I've seen from this company before isn't that bad. What do we got for deployment? We've got a flipper, so there's a flipper tab right there, and a front flipper or end flipper. And so the flipper works well. I showed you that. End flipper, using your thumb, works quite well. You can get your thumb in there and flick it out, and works very well. The jimping on there is well done. Jimping up there, and then on the extended piece as well. Decent. I like the jimping on the spine. I really wish it would come out quite a bit further. If you grip the knife this way, it's great, but if you use this flipper section up here and you want to grip a little higher up, it could do with more jimping right up there, and it's not a big deal. You know me, I like jimping. Like I said, micarta comes back a little bit of a swept back section here. T8 screws, T8 over here as well. T6 on the pocket clip screw. And the screws, they're good quality screws. Flat top screws. Big button up there on the pivot pin. Looks a little bit odd. Maybe that's part of the charm of this knife, trying to be a little bit unique. I like that. And nice chamfering on the sides of the G10 makes it quite comfortable in hand. It's a little thicker than 1/2 inch, and that's not bad. A little bit of a separator between your index finger and your rest of the hand here for extra, grip, a little more security, because there's not an awful lot to stop you if you puncture into something to stop your hand from slipping over, except for, the jimping up here. So it's not bad. I didn't do a lot of stabbing. It's not the stabbing style of a blade. Cutting and slicing, it does okay. It's not great at either of those, but it's not terrible either. It's an okay blade for EDC use in terms of how well it cuts. Lockup action, stuff like that, action's quite smooth. The alignment's right down the middle. Lockup, it's fully engaged with still having loads of room to wear over, so that's well done. And it's quite smooth, just takes a little bit to make it want to fall down. Not much at all. You can call that drop shutty if you want to. Decent. And I'm quite happy with how that works. Detent is quite good. Holds it in there. Could be a little stronger, but holds it in there well. And we'll take it apart and show you the insides a little later on. There's some skeletonizing in there. Lock bar's got a little bit of a chamfer on the side. Easy to get your thumb in there and move it over. And the backspacer, I think it's aluminum. I'll know a little bit more once I take it apart and show you that. Pocket clip, deep carry pocket clip, and not super strong, but decent because it's fairly narrow up there, so the spring tension's all limited in there. What I really like is it's either side and it goes in underneath the micarta, and they put a little spacer in with that. Another thing they've got is a big lanyard hole, and the backspacer goes right through it, so it's a tube, so it's easy to web your paracord through there if you want to use paracord or leather or whatever. Nicely done. I was talking about the pocket clip. That's what I was doing, and I was going to show you that pocket clip going into a pair of pants. Climbs over very easily, very well, no matter where it just goes. So that's nicely done. Not a super amount of retention, like I said, because there's not an extra amount of spring tension, but it always went in every time I wanted to put that into the pocket. couple little special touches on this thing. Oh wait, I should show you the balance point. It's right where the index finger is. Not bad. It could be, you know, 1/8 of an inch further this way. I can still balance it there, but it's, you know, tilting down on this side. So that's nicely done. A couple little things. There's a little bit of a chamfer on either liner, just for your thumb to sit in there a little bit better if you're gripping it back here. I'm not using the jimping for grip, but that's there. And one other place they did it was up here on the front, on the end of the knife, where the front flipper is. I've never seen that done before. And we'll see that a little bit better when I take it apart. So when your thumb gets there, your thumb doesn't go into that spot anyways. Whoop, I was holding the blade with my finger. Works really well. So I don't understand why they chamfered it up there. It doesn't really make, I can't see any advantage to that, but I'll show you that in more detail later on. All right, so that's the general overview of that stuff. Let's take this thing apart and I'll show you how it's constructed. Actually, before I take it apart, first I'll show you the pocket clip, how that comes out. You take the screw out there, and it's a nice little screw. There's no thread locker on it, and the pocket clip comes right out. And there's the one hole there. And if you want to move it to the other side, you take this screw out. That's on pretty tight. And these are two different, are they two different size screws? Let me double check that. No, they're identical screws, so that's quite good. And you see there's a slot there, and this side has that little piece of steel in there. So you got to use your screwdriver to move it a little bit, try to get it to come out. There you go. And you got that little spacer right there. That's quite nicely done. And then of course you can just put it into the other side. What's great about this spacer is I've seen a lot of knives, more expensive knives that have this style of a pocket clip system, especially if they got G10, but my card is the same thing. If they don't have that spacer and you put a screw in here and you tighten it up, you're going to potentially crack the handle at the end here, right in that spot. And I've seen a number of cracked knives because of that. So a tiny little thing like this, you put the spacer in there and you're saving, you know, potential damage. Tiny little touch that's very, very worth it. And I'm glad they've done that. So there's that. Let's take the rest of it apart here. We got a T8 here. It's a little bit of play in this screw. Maybe a little bit more than I'd like there to be. So it's not a very nice fitting screw head, but it's not terrible. Big, big, you know, built-in washer basically. And let's take these out. And I'll show you how it's put together. Just about like any other liner lock. Again, no thread locker anywhere in there. Micarta comes off. There's the liner. There's the liner with the captured stop pin on the blade, and it's captured. That one's not loose. And slides along there, closed front. I really like that a lot. I don't like it when they're open. And I don't know if I'll be able to get a good picture of that, but there's a tiny bit of a chamfer right there. Which, like I said, I don't understand why they did that. That's an extra machining step that I can't see how it helps practically at all. There's the ceramic ball bearings. And what do we got? We've got 10 ball bearings in there, decent size, good ball bearings. D-shaped pin back here, so that's quite nice. So get that out of the way. And let's see, that's moved a little bit. Let's see if I can get that. Because I think I saw those pins have shoulders on, the spacers. Same house. We're going to go slowly walking it. We're going to fast this. Boy, that took a while to get out, but yeah, that definitely feels like aluminum. Let me grab, got a magnet over here. Yeah, it's not magnetic at all. That's going to be aluminum, so not bad. And yep, there's standoffs right there, so the liners will sit on there and they won't collapse. You can tighten against it. It's just metal on metal. So that is, you know, what it would look like without a, actually I'll put it together without a backspacer. Some people don't like backspacers, so you got the option of using this without a backspacer. Well, yeah, that's quite nice. I'm quite happy with that. I've taken the Backspacer out, and that's how it looks without the Backspacer. Not bad. Of course, they're just straight there. They're not like hourglass shaped or anything. Let's just double check. Yep, the balance point has moved just ever so slightly that way, tiny little bit. But there you go, for people who prefer it that way. Like I said, there's still lots of room for your lanyard back there, and that's well done. I am very happy with this thing. I've now put my Gunny Glide in there, and it's even smoother than it was before. Very happy with that. Very, very happy with that, actually. And like I said, there's no thread locker anywhere, and well done. I'm happy with that. Let's do the sizes, dimensions, and stuff. The weight of this knife, 100 grams, 3.53 ounces. So 3.5 ounces for this knife, the way it came from the factory. Sharpness score on my best tester from the factory, I got a score of 250. That's the average on 3 tests. That's not that great, but it's not super terrible either. And like I said, hopefully you know how to sharpen knives, and if you don't, it's a great skill to learn. It's gonna be the most addictive quality in this hobby. If you learn how to sharpen knives, you're just gonna become that much more of a knife nut. It's almost guaranteed. The rest of the dimensions here, the cutting edge length, 80.5 millimeters, 3.17 inches from the tip to the closest spot on the handle. Tiny bit more, 80.8 millimeters, 3.18 inches. The thickness of the blade stock up here, 3.65 millimeters, 0.1435, so well over 1/8 of an inch thick. The blade depth this way, it's widest right here, 22.9 millimeters, 0.901, so 9/10 of an inch. The thickness at the edge, so the main bevel before you get to the sharpening edge, thickness behind there, 0.53 millimeters, 21/1000 of an inch. So I prefer it to be under 20 thousandths. 20 thousandths is sort of for this purpose. Like the purpose for this, it's like an EDC knife, very much an urban EDC, not like an outdoor cowboy EDC knife. Just an urban EDC knife. I like it to be a little bit thinner, but it does also make it tougher when it's a tiny bit thicker. So if that's what you're looking for, this knife has got that. The handle length on this, not counting the flipper sticking out, not counting the pocket clip sticking out, just this way, 107.6 millimeters, 4.24, so 4¼ inches long. And the grip area, and I'm not counting this, that's a forward area, so between my thumbnails, it's roughly around 85 millimeters, 3.4 inches roughly, give or take a tiny bit. And then you've got that extra up here, so that's an extra little over 1/2 of an inch that you can get your finger closer up there, so not bad. The thickness of the handle scales on top of the micarta right here, 13.8 millimeters, 0.534 of an inch, so a little bit thicker, which is actually good when the handle's more narrow. The widest point on the handle here is 22.2 millimeters, 0.874 of an inch, so most of the handle's thinner, which I like it then to be a little thicker this way if it's too thin, not too thin, but so thin this way so that you still get a good solid grip on it. And being flat-sided, even with the chamfering, it's really easy to index this thing so you know exactly which way the blade is facing. When it's closed, the widest point is right here on the arch of the handle at the back, 28.3 millimeters, 1.11 inches, and round it up a part of a millimeter. The total length, again, not counting the pocket clip sticking out a little bit, 189 millimeters, 7.44 inches, so just under 7.5 inches. Tiny bit over 3, tiny bit over 4. Decent proportions, if you ask me. So I really like the little touches on this knife. In summary, it's a unique design, especially with that huge, screw head. Sway back, yeah, they're fairly common. The jimping on here is okay, but the little touches like the cutaway there. On the front here, there's even a little jimping on the front for a little ways, when you get your thumb in there. So if you're pushing from in front of it, it works, or if on top of it, either way. They just made sure that there's enough bite there. Not enough bite on, the jimping here, for my opinion. comfortable. The Land 801 series. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it an awful lot. I appreciate you guys. Leave a comment, hit that like button, share this video with somebody who might be interested, especially somebody who's looking for a low-cost pocket knife. That's pretty decent. And remember, friends, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.